he said, Bryan, you said jerk like a million times. And I'd say, well, I only said jerk because you said jerk. And you're like, I didn't say jerk. I said jerk. Hello and welcome to JudgeCast. This is episode 352. I'm one of your hosts, Bryan Perlman, and I am joined this evening, afternoon, morning drive to work by the one and only Charles Feather.
Hello, hello.
And the one and only Marco Sanchez.
Hello, everyone.
And during that intro, I breathed in the wrong spot, so I think I struggled to get that little fast bit out. How are all y'all doing?
Well, I've got breathing down, so I've got that going for me.
Good.
Well done, Charles. You've mastered breathing.
Yes. All right. You know you're old when breathing wrong hurts.
I have one of those, you know you're old when you wake up and all of a sudden your arm just doesn't work without agonizing pain for some reason.
T-shirt.
Yeah, that was rough.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that hasn't happened to me yet, thankfully. But anyway, in this episode, we're not going to discuss policy per se. We are going to talk a little bit about rules because, hey, there was a rules update and there was a few changes that we think folks should know about. But has anything happened recently in the judge community that folks might want to, talk about, share their opinions on?
I can't think of anything.
I haven't applied for a job.
Oh, that's right. So Wizards put out a job posting for a judge program manager. So we're going to go over that and talk a little bit about it and share some of our very premature thoughts. But first, some updates. So last episode was our Edge of Eternity's release notes episode, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I don't actually know. It's a big giant blur. However, there was one card that we didn't talk about that apparently got an errata like right after we recorded. Does anyone want to say what this was?
Sure. So I'm happy to do this because I talked about it a lot this past weekend.
Yep.
Diplomatic relations is not a murder. We'll just start with that as the top of the fold, announcement.
I mean, maybe not the way you do diplomatic relations.
Yeah, right. But diplomatic relations is not a murder. It is a typical green card. It is printed as target creature gets +1/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. That sounds normal, but it really is missing something very important. It's missing that you control bit. So the actual corrected rules text that it received day 0 or day 1, however you want to count, is target creature you control gets +1/+0. So you can't have one of your opponent's creatures fight another of your opponent's creatures. That's just funny. Or punch.
Or my favorite, punch yourself in the face.
Or punch yourself
in the face. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
It's really silly. But yeah, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. So it's a fight. Or it's a punch, right? A punch. And that's the way it's supposed to work. I believe they mentioned in the notes or when they talked about it, probably on Twitter or on Blue Sky, they mentioned that it would break the color pie intention of what a green card like this is supposed to be doing. So it's obviously supposed to be target creature you control.
Well, even if it didn't break the color pie, it doesn't really make sense. And this is kind of one of the things that I want to highlight because Marco showed me this card, last week or whatever, and he's like, notice what's missing? And my first thought was, yeah, that's going to get errata.
Yep.
No question. So anyone that read this and was excited for this card as printed, come on now.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, you got to have a little hope that you might have something just purely silly and game breaking. But
right. Yeah.
Like that mill card?
It doesn't make sense as a card as printed.
No.
Anyway.
By the way, that mill card is sick. You know the one I'm talking about, Marcos?
The
life
modified-
total,
yeah.
the life total one. I had that
That-
played against me on Friday night, and
The blue-white mill.
Yeah, and when it was played against me, I yelled "Judge."
Why, Judge? I'm getting wrecked and I need help.
I was so offended by it. And in Two-Headed Giant, woof, that card's great.
Oh God, yeah, it is.
Anyway, moving on.
All right. Next up is we got a rules update. Most of the stuff was covering station or warp, those type of rules. But there are two rules that one got created and one got clarified. I think both to handle Zoo Ifit Osteoharmonist. All right. As a reminder, our Osteoharmonist. Bone. I want to say something about playing the bone flute, but anyway.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No.
No,
Okay.
you don't.
The Osteoharmonist for 1 black is a 2/3 human wizard, legendary creature. This says tap, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. So we talked about this card in the release notes episode. So there's one new rule and one modified rule supporting this. Previously, there was a rule that talked about if a resolving spell or ability puts both a non-token permanent onto the battlefield and creates a continuous effect stating that the permanent is characteristic, okay, that continuous effect applies simultaneously with the permanent entering the battlefield. Okay, this one actually clarifies, they added, in addition to if the continuous effect stating that the permanent is characteristic, they added 2 other cases. Or that it has characteristic, or that it doesn't have a particular characteristic, that continuous effect continues to apply. And so they probably realized that this was missing when they had Zoofit saying that it becomes a skeleton and has no other abilities. All right. Now they also, I believe, added another rule. What's that rule?
613.7N. So this is a brand new rule, correct? This was not around beforehand? Yeah. So if a continuous effect generated by a static ability of an object and a continuous effect generated by a resolving spell or ability that applies to that object would receive a timestamp simultaneously, such as due to an effect that puts that object onto the battlefield and sets its characteristics, see Rule 611.2e, which we just read.
Yep.
The continuous effect from the object's own static ability receives an earlier relative timestamp. Woof.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
Right. So this is also for Zoo Ifit. Now, here's a particular thing that when we talk about layers, it's easy to shortcut things to, go by timestamp, last one wins. All right. That's not exactly the case. And in our previous layer episodes, we've talked about type changing effects where if something says, all merfolk are goblins or all creatures are goblins in addition to their other types, and then all creatures are zombies. Okay. Those can get you different results based on which ones in timestamp order, because you still run through all of them, all of the abilities. So with Zoo Ifit, we've seen an interesting question online, and you've probably heard about it somewhere else. We're going to talk about it too, using this card called Archetype of Imagination. It is 4 blue for a 3/2 enchantment creature human wizard. It says creatures you control have flying. Creatures your opponents control lose flying and can't have or gain flying. So the question is, what happens if you use Zoo Ifit, Osteoharmonist, to bring the Archetype of Imagination onto the battlefield?
Oh boy.
I also have, just sitting there randomly, a bear cub.
Sure.
Yeah, as you do. Does my bear cub have flying?
I'm going to say no.
And does the archetype have flying?
I'm going to say no, and I think it's one of those common sense things, but did the rule support it previously the way it was written, and does the new ruling support it the way it's intended now? And I think the rework of the rule supports it as it's intended now, in that archetype of imagination would come in and would not actually give bear cub flying.
Okay, Marcos?
So the new rule says that the creature's own ability receives an earlier relative timestamp. So archetype is going to have its own earlier relative timestamp. So they're going to have basically the same one, except archetype gets 0.1 milliseconds before Zoophytes. So you'll apply creatures you control have flying, creatures your opponent control lose flying and can't have or gain flying. Then you'll apply Zoophytes and removes those abilities. So creatures you control have flying. It won't have flying, nor will your bear cub.
Okay. So, Charles, you said no. Marcos, you said...
Flying bear.
No to both.
No to both. All right. So this is a thing that can get a little confusing, especially because we just set a rule that said if a continuous effect generated a static ability, blah, 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 and we talked about if it would get a timestamp, if it would receive a timestamp simultaneously, such as due to an effect that puts the object onto the battlefield and sets its characteristics, i.e. the rule for Zoophyte, you would think that this rule right here, it primes you to go, oh, this situation is timestamps, when it's not. So, archetype of imagination says creatures you control have flying. Zoophyte says no abilities. Those are both in layer 6. Okay? Now, generally, we talk about, hey, it's important to apply the effects in order. Okay? And if you apply the effects in order, you get archetype of imagination, giving creatures you control flying. Okay? Then Osteoharmonist removes that ability. So, the Osteoharmonist means that the archetype of imagination does not have flying, but archetype of imagination has already given flying to all my other creatures. Okay, that's if you apply everything in timestamp order. Cool. However, there's this thing called dependencies. So we're dealing with kind of complex stuff here. But Osteoharmonist saying, hey, you've got no abilities, actually changes what the archetype of imagination is able to impact. Okay, this is the old, like, you know, if you think of like Urborg and Blood Moon, like which one wins, and we say, well, Urborg removes all the abilities from Blood Moon, so we have to apply that one first because it changes what Blood Moon can apply to, right? So if we apply the Osteoharmonist's no abilities, it changes what the archetype of imagination's effect can do, or its very existence, what creatures it affects. So because of dependencies, we apply that one first. Okay, so the archetype of imagination does not give my bear cub flying. Because even though we specifically have a new rule that says, hey, this is how to handle timestamps, this particular question, not timestamps, dependencies.
And you thought we weren't going to talk about layers this week.
Got
yeah.
him.
Yep. Charles found a way to sneak it in.
Nailed it.
All right. Are we done talking about the bone harmonist? Bone thugs and harmonist.
Yeah. I
love
think
that.
so. I think we really danced around this for a little bit. I think we really need to talk about the
other
elephant in the
harmonist.
room. The elephant in the room. The job listing.
Okay. There's a job listing. What's that?
Well, Brian, that's a thing that tells the world that a position is opened at a company who is looking to employ someone for a particular task or role.
Okay. Why do we
Thank
care?
you for being the straight man. I really so appreciate that.
Well, we care because, first of all, the first thing that stuck out to me, manager magic judge program. What? Magic judge program? We don't have one of those.
Not an official
Anymore.
one.
But not anymore, not officially, not sponsored by Wizards, not anything. But here they are looking for someone to manage a Magic Judge program. So, spoilers, I guess.
Is it really a spoiler if they just post it?
We're getting a program, in theory.
Maybe. It sounds like it.
That's what it
sounds like it. Okay, actually, let's before we dive into the shenanigans that I'm sure are about to ensue, let's just put nobody on this podcast has any idea, any more than anybody listening to this podcast, of what the hell this means. Let's just be very frank about that. This is all conjecture and speculation and wild chit chat amongst judges, just like y'all have been having for however long it's been since this job was
and
posted.
Relying on past experiences, but we are just donkeys playing with the rubber chicken.
Yes.
So
because not everybody's heard of this.
Oh my God! So much beating around the bush.
There are a couple of judges that have probably been living under a rock and maybe only listen to us for news and information. Bless you all. I appreciate you, each and every one. Let's read what the first paragraph is and maybe a couple of the things that they're looking for the judge manager to do. So what we are looking for: a passionate and experienced manager, Magic Judge program, to lead the strategic development and execution of Magic the Gathering Judge program. In this role, you will ensure judges are empowered, supported, and equipped to maintain integrity, consistency, and high-quality player experiences across all levels of play. As a member of the play team, you will collaborate closely with teams including events, communications, marketing, and other cross-functional teams to cultivate a professional and diverse judge community that supports in-store, regional, and premier level events. So let's just, for a moment, talk about this paragraph and a couple of things that it's saying. First off, you're going to be a member of the play team. The play team is a group within Wizards that is concerned with organized play. Okay, they're concerned with how events run at the store level, all the way up to Magic Cons and that Pro Tour thing that happens every once in a while. You're going to be at the center of a hub of different teams that includes events and communications and marketing. But you're also going to help develop and cultivate a professional and diverse judge community. You're going to be the person in charge of helping to make all of this happen. It sounds ambitious.
The strategic development and execution.
It also sounds daunting.
No.
A little. Not for you, maybe, but we should be humbled by the scope of the job. I don't know. Go on.
But here's the thing. They had this before. Like, they had it for years and years and years. This is when I read this thing, this is almost like, I think I asked someone if this was the same rec from like 2014, and the answer that came back was, yeah, there's been a few verbiage updates, but it's largely the same job application from 2014, which was the last time they hired a judge manager.
Shout out Sarah Mox.
Yep. So when we say like daunting, there was an infrastructure. They threw it away. So now they're basically just rooting, not in the trash bin next to their desk, but they're like back out in the dumpster, like trying to just dig up all the interest, all the files and stuff of the way the program used to work.
So they've had the opportunity to dig through 6 years ago garbage and try to find something that relates to a manager for a judge program. But what I'm really curious about is, what are the tiny little differences? We're going to look at this as we move forward through this application, because we are going to read through all of this. But I'm really interested in just like those fine detail changes between what this post would have been, 12 years ago versus today.
All right. So the application says, or the rec, as we would call them at my job, says what you'll do: build, own, and evolve the vision, structure, and execution of the Magic the Gathering Judge program globally. Okay.
Woot. The global word is big there. That means international.
Own and evolve the vision, structure, execution. Top dog. All right. Develop certification pathways, advancement criteria, continuing education, tools for judges at all experience levels. Okay? Work with internal
Sick.
team members and third party organizations to ensure operational excellence in the judge deployment and performance at events. What's Charles? Do you want to?
Establish and maintain a code of conduct. Thank you for letting me say this one. Establish and maintain a code of conduct, disciplinary procedures, and support systems to ensure a respectful and safe judging environment. You'll also build scalable systems for judge recruitment, training, recognition, and retention. You'll advocate for program requirements in cross-functional meetings and long-term planning. What else, Marcus?
You're going to act as a liaison between wizards and the global judge community. Again, with the word global in there. Providing regular communication and support. Emphasis on support. And finally, you're going to monitor program metrics and feedback to continuously refine and improve outcomes. Ooh.
Yep. So the what you'll bring is really just the list of what their requirements are. They want you to have a lot of experience in running events, which is great because a lot of times we get people making decisions and making changes for things that aren't necessarily involved in events. Like, oh, I don't know, the software that runs tournaments. You know, you got to have deep knowledge of the game. Okay, cool. Strong understanding of the organized play ecosystem. Yeah, that's what judges do. Proven ability to build systems and programs that scale globally, and outstanding communications, conflict resolution, collaborator management skills.
That proven
right.
ability one is going to be really important. And I think it's going to be hard for many of the people applying to meet that particular one.
So, you know, they talk about what they value, equal opportunity employer, the benefits. Okay, let's just talk briefly about the pay. Okay, so the base salary range is 102,000 to 162,000.
Hey, that sounds like a lot.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Florida, I'd love that.
In
Sure.
Florida, that's insane.
That's not even bad
Okay.
here in New Jersey where I live.
Right. So I asked some folks what that salary gets you up there in WotC land, and the answer was maybe a one-person studio apartment. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
housing market up
The
there.
Northwest is very, very pricey.
Yeah. So you know, you get paid vacation holidays. Shocker. They give you medical and dental and vision insurance, which, you know, having a job's the only way to get insurance in the U.S. A 401k match that I have heard is good. Okay.
Which is great to hear.
Yeah, paid parental leave so that when you do leave your single bedroom studio apartment and, you know, maybe need to go find a house with 2 bedrooms, you can do that. Tuition reimbursement, and then product discounts. You can buy boxes cheaper. Cool.
Still got to sell those secret layers, you know?
Yep. All right. So now let's open up. What are our thoughts?
I'm feeling two things, and I imagine a lot of other people are out there as well. On one hand, I'm feeling a very faint thing that reminds me of when I once felt hope.
Do I feel hope?
And on the other, I'm feeling like you know, in high school when you had that couple that just broke up and made up like every 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Getting some faint whiffs of that, in that there's been a lot of trust broken over the years,
Yeah.
and it's very hard to really embrace that hope when you've been hurt before.
Yeah. Charles, what about your thoughts?
I think I want to start with where I am with judging personally and go from there. I don't talk about it very often, but I decerted back in November. So I'm not currently certified as a judge in the judge program that exists now, the Judge Foundry. I like the word hope. I think another word that we need to start bandying about is patience. I think that anything that's going to come of this is going to take a lot of time. We might hear early on who they select for the judge manager. I hope that they do make that public and don't put that behind an NDA, and we don't hear anything about this for 6 or 8 months until we hear the first glimmer of an announcement about an announcement. I hope they find somebody. I hope they're competent. But I do have a little bit of hope because where we are now, I wasn't happy, and I think that a big piece that was missing was direct involvement and meaningful involvement by Wizards, and this looks like a good faith effort at starting along that path.
Okay.
Yep. How about you, Bryan?
So first off, I don't think we can infer a whole lot from the application. Like reading the description, it does look a lot like the job application from 11 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure that there were some words changed,
right.
and maybe a new line, but because given the current situation, but
right. So let's be real clear here. WotC isn't doing this out of the good of their heart. They are doing it to solve a problem, and it is a problem that they created. Okay, they stepped away from judges and judging. Okay, and in that amount of time, things have weakened their, like a lot of the sense that people who remember the way the program used to be, it's not there. The judges that are coming up, we're probably getting a lot of TOs complaining about the quality of judges. And that's really because anyone can just walk up and say, I'm a judge now, because WotC doesn't endorse anybody. WotC doesn't require anything. It's quite literally wild, wild west. Okay. And so WotC has realized that this is starting with their ambitions in getting organized play, and other card games are starting judge programs or have successful judge programs, and it's kind of embarrassing that Wizards doesn't. So not only is quality declining, they're getting harmed by it. They have no say, no control. That I think is the real thing. And realistically, they've recently got some new people in house that are sympathetic to judges. So probably what's happened is the people that were like screw them judges in 2018, 2019 have moved on. There's been an influx over the last several years. Like Dunks was sympathetic to judges. Levine is there. Ileana is there. Temple is there. There have been an influx of former judges, for people that were sympathetic to judges, and they've probably been able to talk to people. Meg, as a that we had on a while back, has been able to talk about the quality of things. Ward and Jared with Star City. This, I'm taking a very U.S. centric approach because those are the people that I know. So Wizards is probably starting to listen, and then the universe of smaller LGSs that are complaining about event qualities. So yeah, WotC's probably doing this because they're forced to do it.
Can I pull back the lens a little bit too?
Sure.
The other part of this is that we have all heard the same rumblings about the IGP, the International Judge Program. They were in talks with WotC for some time. There was some belief by the organizers of the IGP and maybe of WotC at the time. IJP. Thank you. I'm not. It's not JIF. It's JIF. There was some talk, I think, on both sides of trying to find a way to support it through Wizards, and that fell apart. The problem is in that falling apart, the IJP has also lost momentum. I'll use that phrase. I'll qualify it. From what we've heard, they have not moved forward in any material way with creating their own program since talks dissolved with Wizards. Wizards serves not just the U.S. Or Wizards is not just a company that has players in the U.S. They have players worldwide, and if there's no judge program literally outside the U.S. and Canada, with a couple of exceptions, and there are a couple of exceptions, that's terrible, and they need to address it.
Here's my thoughts with respect to timing. Okay, scuttlebutt is that WotC's just stonewalled all of IJP and Judge Foundry. Okay, don't know that for a fact, but rumblings, at least on the IJP side, was WotC just wasn't really talking. So could it be that, okay, the IJP fell, so Wizards finally realized, oh, we got to step up? Or was it Wizards just waiting and hoping that judge programs failed, and so then they could come and step in?
Or were they hoping that they succeed
not have to
and they
work
did,
with anybody?
or they were hoping that they would succeed on their own and they wouldn't have to step in? I don't know. I mean, it's two sides of a coin. It's hard to know which way it fell. There's some boardroom in Redmond where, yeah.
I don't know officially, but I know it's control. It's really about control. Like, and this is going to be and this is where I'm going to get up on my soapbox. Okay, there's realistically, like, when you think about eras of the judge program, there was the last judge manager was Sarah Mox. Then before that, Aaron Hamer for a little while, and then before that, Andy Hecht for at least 5 years before that. So I'm going all the way back to like 2010. Okay, the heyday of like judge autonomy was in like the 2015 to 2019 era. We got to decide our own RCs. We got to decide our own GP head judges. We got to decide our own program coordinators. Like, all of that stuff was not in like the 2010 and before era. Before that, the RCs were determined by Wizards. The L4s and L5s were determined by Wizards. There was even a point in time where Wizards worked with the TOs to do staffing before 2010. Okay, and starting in like 2015, when we started being able to have autonomy, there was a lawsuit that said Wizards has too much control over what we're doing. So the heyday, when we think about like the program control and what we were able to do, was when we had the autonomy, and Wizards was trying very hard to not give the lawsuit evidence that it was correct. Okay, so that's one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about, is we have a certain level of autonomy, and that was actually one of the things that the lawsuit wanted. Was it listed a bunch of things, but the last item was, we want a WotC funded independent judge program, or like a WotC supported judge program, sort of like, at least conceptually, and I might not be getting this exact, but referees are actually separate in a way from the NFL. Like, they're funded by the NFL, but they're kind of like their own entity in football. So, American football. Would kind of like to see that. I'm kind of scared that WotC's going to come in and basically go, okay, you're starved for attention. Daddy's here. Just come on in. Give me everything I want. Give me all the control that I want, and not really realize we're so excited for something different that we don't stop to question whether or not it's good. Right.
Yeah, that the sting of what happens in what has happened in the past should not be forgotten by any means, just because we seem to be inching towards something that a lot of us may have been screaming for years now.
Right. And a very real thing is, like, I saw this job application. I read it and I was like, oh, I could do that. I'm going to apply. Let me go check. I mean, like, that's how I knew what the housing cost was. I looked at it and said, like, hey, is this a thing that makes sense for me to apply? Is this enough money? And the answer is no. So I'm not gonna. But one of the other thoughts is when you're aligned with the IJP or Judge Foundry, there's no money involved. When you're working on doing things, you are actually working to make judges' lives better. When you are employed by Wizards of the Coast, your job is to make wizards better. And if there is a decision that comes down to do what's right for wizards, do what's right for judges, a wizards employed judge manager is going to do what's best for wizards.
I also wonder how well developed their idea is here, and what direction are things going to go in. Like, do they already have? They've probably already spent hours and hours on this. Do they already have a picture of what the end goal, what their success looks like with creating this job and what the person will do when they're in this role? Do they know what form the legal body will take? Do they know how it will be governed? Do they have intent to bring back RCs or not? What are the different decision points in the program? How will testing be handled? How much of this is already predetermined before they're bringing somebody in, and how much of it needs to be developed because it's in that rubbish bin that you guys have been talking about out back behind the building? I think a lot of it has to be redeveloped, but I also think that they've probably done a fair bit of thought about what they want this to be.
I mean, reading into the items in what you'll do, there are a few lines and few choice words in there that I think indicate that there's probably a starting point or a rough framework of what they'd hope for.
Yeah.
But for example, the first bullet point says build, own, and evolve. That says to me that I'm hoping, and again, this is all my overtly optimistic side speaking here, but I'm hoping that means that this judge manager will be empowered to actually develop it with their intentions, their hopes in mind for what they feel is right for both.
Yeah, but to Bryan's point,
also,
they're still an employee of Wizards.
Yes,
and they need to meet that
line.
goal.
100%. There is a line here though that does say, act as a liaison between Wizards and the global judge community. So, yes, 100%. This is a Wizards employee. However, a part of me has to ask, who is the representation of that global judge community? Who is this judge manager going to be liaising with?
Right, and this is not a one person job. Okay, let's just look at let's just look at right. Let's just look at the certification and testing. Like, if that's all you did full time,
that's like 5 people minimum.
I don't know if it's 5 full-time people, but it's,
no, not 5 full-time people, but what I'm saying is the contributions from at least 5 different people to make something like that work.
Right. Dealing with if there are things that get mailed out to judges, I'm going to tell you from personal experience, judges are extremely difficult to work with. Like, folks, judges, I love you, but you guys are terrible to work with on things. Like, if you are owed, if you feel that you're owed something, you are like, where is it? I didn't get it. Should I check? Where's the tracking number? Do you have a tracking number? Oh, should have got a tracking number. Like, it is, and there's
relentless.
So many of you that just bird dog the hell out of everything.
Gamer's gonna game, man.
And we're the gamerest of the gamers.
But it's what's the quote from the movie Clerks? Like, this job would be great if it wasn't for the
people,
for the effing
customers.
Judges. Yeah, if it wasn't for the effing judges. That's another thing. We are extremely difficult to manage as a group because we as a group are extremely whiny.
Somewhere in my list of things I wanted to talk about, I mentioned the word bulletproof, I believe, and I was talking about needing to have a thick skin because it's not going to be an easy job.
No,
absolutely not.
It absolutely is not going to be an easy job. I do think that it is going to be difficult, and I can tell you from based on, again, personal previous experience, one of the things that WotC is going to make a big push on is for more L2s. That was a thing. The legacy program, Judge Academy, they want, okay, because where they look to grow is competitive REL events, RCQs, a lot of the Comprel Magicons, I'm blanking, Spotlight series, RCs, stuff like that. Like that's the area that they need a lot of help in, and that's where they're going to put a lot of focus and a lot of energy on is getting a lot of L2s.
Sure. So to the future judge manager who's listening to the show right before they go and interview with Redmond, here's the thing. Enable for there to be a lot of L2s, there has to be a quality pool of L1s who are not only available and interested, but capable of doing it. That has been a dwindled resource recently. So you have to start there. That's where it happens. If you don't have a large pool of L1s, you've got nothing to pull on to make into L2.
What's going to be probably interesting if Wizards does do a thing where they just start throwing foils at judges, we're going to have a massive influx of L1s. Okay, like Judge Academy had a lot of L1s come in, and there was a lot of L1s that were just milking the conference system to get foils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be. I don't want to tie performance to foils or to promos or to the conversation. I do have promos listed as something that I wanted to touch on at some point. I think what needs to happen though is I do think that there has to be metrics that are met. You know, we if we want the thing, I know, but if we want the thing, if we want it to survive, if we want it to grow, if we want it to flourish, we have to understand that there are going to be standards that we have to meet.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. That sounded preachy, but it's not meant to be preachy.
Well, we need to be worth WotC's love. Screw that.
No. Here's my finite point with that.
Okay.
Both sides have done regrettable things over time. Both sides. The lawsuit, depending on which way you turn that conversation, there were probably wrongs made on both sides. I've heard enough about it. I don't want to get into the little detail of it, but I think both sides. As recently as Judge Academy, there was a lot of upset at times expressed by the judge community. And were they right? Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, it created a lot of bad ill will. With the end of the program, when we were looking at the last batch of foil promos that went out, the Judge Lands, that people thought, wow, that they were vocal about it. We'll just say they were vocal about it. That created ill will on both sides. We need to actually, judges and wizards, hopefully find a way to move forward, and it's going to take little building blocks and little instances of gaining each other's trust again. But we have to find ways to make bygones be bygones on both sides, because both sides are to blame for where we are today.
I vehemently disagree.
I know you do.
With the both sides. That is
no.
I think that
while there might be something from the judge side, I think it is more heavily weighted in one direction.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say like, let's say you are in a school zone where the speed limit is 15 miles an hour and someone is going 20 miles an hour. That person is speeding. There's also a person that's doing 95 miles an hour and doing donuts in the parking lot. They are also speed. Now you can sit back and say, oh, well, both sides are, both of those cars, both sides are speeding, but one side is significantly worse. Right?
Yeah. One I'm not going to blink at, the other one I'm screaming for help.
I don't know. I think it's an easy thing to say that when we're, the person that's bystanding and not involved in
Okay, let me ask you this, Charles.
Yeah.
Did you sue Wizards?
No, I had an opportunity to be a part.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to be a part of the class action. You know why I didn't do it?
Why not?
Because the way I read what was happening is if anything, and if they won, it would adversely affect international judges more than it would affect American judges.
Okay.
That was my take on it.
But here's the thing. When you're saying like both sides,
Yeah.
Wizards did something to you. You did nothing to them.
Wizards didn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
Wizards drop kicked your judge program twice. Okay? They basically twice said, we do not value you as a company.
This is that abusive ex syndrome that I alluded to earlier of there is obviously a relationship there between judges and Wizards, and just us as players who enjoy this game and Wizards, and seeing how Wizards has treated us over the years. Not to say that they can't earn trust back, but they absolutely violated a lot of trust, and it's not going to be easy to earn it back is I think where I stand on that. Like, yeah, they drop kicked us twice. They just said, we don't care about you anymore. And that's not what you want out of a cooperative partner, which is, I think, what they're aiming for with this type of job description, a cooperative partnership between Wizards and the judge program and the judging community at large.
So here's the thing, okay? I honestly think we can't stop it, okay? It's gonna happen. So let's try and make it the best that we can. I do want, there are folks that have been busting their ass for the last 2 years to make sure that new judges are competent, that information gets out. I don't want to like toot our own horn, but the fact that we're still recording after 16 years of this, but beyond that, there are folks that are making tests. There are folks that are writing tests. There's folks that are trying to hold their communities together, okay, and have basically allowed Wizards to sit there with their thumb up their butt for several years now and not do anything. Those folks should get some form of recognition. Now, I don't necessarily mean like they should get dollars or anything like that, but there should be a public thank you, like the actual words. We would like to thank this group, this organization, these people, something like that, for keeping the wheels on the bus.
Yeah. Any acknowledgement of positivity and that we actually have done anything and that it is valued. Like, this is a big part of why the Exemplar program being resurrected is such a big deal. This is why people, like, one of the most fond memories that judges who were in the historical judge program have is of the Exemplar program. Showing you care matters.
Yeah, like just
because it's not
yesterday.
About the money for all these judges. It's not about the fame and the glory. It's about doing the right thing for the people, the community, and the game that we care about so much. And to have them not show that same care back, that's the problem.
Right. Earlier I said judges are a bunch of whiny babies. Okay, but also I love you all, or else I wouldn't have done all the stuff that I've done over the last 16 years. That's just kind of the way it is. And I very much will be upset if WotC just rolls out, this is the new judge program, this is the way, and we're not going to interface or engage with any of the other folks that tried to keep things going. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, we're going to listen to you or take you on as advisory roles or anything like that. Okay, just thanks. And I think that needs to be like program wide as well. It's like everyone that worked, and you don't actually have to be part of an organization. If you tried to keep the wheels on the bus while WotC was asleep at the wheel, I'm going all sorts of car metaphors here.
Yeah, I mean, running events at your local store and keeping your local community together, that's huge, especially during the pandemic that knocked out so many of our local community gathering places. Like, these things matter. It's not just, did you show up to MagicCon? Did you go work this SCG event? It's, did you just keep acting like the judge that you are, whether or not somebody from Wizards gave a damn?
Yeah. And right here it says build, own, and evolve the vision, structure, execution. There is something to build off of. There is something to evolve. There is a structure to start with. You might not go in that direction or fully, adopt everything wholesale, but the reason that there is something to build on at all is because the effort of everyone listening to this podcast, the fact that you stuck with it, that you did work, you kept at it, and
100%.
that should be acknowledged.
Yeah. To move on to something else.
Yep.
I do want to highlight here, there's the line in there that says work with internal team members and third-party organizations. Mm-hmm. When I first read through this was somebody sent this to me in the middle of the day while I was at work, and I just glanced at it while picking up my jaw off the floor and trying to focus on my job. But when I first read that third-party organizations, I was like, oh, is there going to be an acknowledgement of these other judging organizations and certification bodies that have been in place these last few years? And then I read that more and I'm like, oh, no. The third-party organizations they mean are the tournament organizers that are running events that deploy judges and make sure that they exceed well at events.
Right.
One thing I'm not seeing in here is any kind of acknowledgement or willingness to cooperate with those bodies that have been doing a lot of the work to try to maintain some sort of semblance of structure.
No, there has to be,
regardless
because
of how successful
there has
it's
to
been.
be, whether or not it's implied or stated directly, because you can't.
Yes, it does.
You can't do it without a handoff. Whatever you develop,
you can't act as though they did not.
And
you can't act as though those communities have not put in years of work.
And whatever's developed, there, for the people out there that are in limbo and wondering what all this means, well, we've been through this a few times ourselves before, in one degree or another of transition. Don't worry, your level will be transferred correctly. If it's not transferred, there will be, a way of dealing with that. So I wouldn't, that's way far in the future, but if you've earned it and if you're there, don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll all work out.
You made a comment about levels. I am going to say this: whoever gets the job in the future, I'm talking to you directly right now. Okay, we're going to get some requests for people to look into badges. Okay,
don't do badges.
No, God, no.
Please don't. Do badges. Patches. I can co-sign patches, but don't do badges.
Yeah, don't do badges. Like the complexity explodes for like no value. It sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a great idea. It sounds very, very inclusive. Everyone has these little bite-sized nuggets, and what you end up with is a system that's so complicated no one actually knows what the hell's going on. Like if you implement it the way people want and think. Now, I am going to call out one thing that is kind of a positive. Okay, in the what you do, it says establish and maintain a code of conduct, disciplinary procedures, and support systems to ensure a respectful and safe judging environment. Okay, we have
holla frickin' Luya.
For a while, we have had problems, and this is I don't actually know how WotC's going to solve this, because I am relatively certain, like the old JCC, like the members of the JCC, like the head JCC person, had to retain their own lawyer. Like those judges had to like incorporate and retain their own lawyers in order to handle that kind of thing. Like I don't know how they're going to do it. Judge Foundry has talked about some of the problems that they would have setting it up the way we want. Judge Academy was absolutely the same thing. Really curious, but code of conduct, disciplinary procedures, cool. Now that doesn't mean that someone says something mean to you on Twitter and you go and complain and you can get them in trouble. There is, again,
there has to be a middle ground. The old judge code of conduct was, I believe, approximately 16 pages. The first half of it was a description of the different problems that can happen. The second half of it was all the different penalties and so forth that could happen. I read it many, many, many times.
I'm aware also of the code of conduct.
You helped write it.
What?
Oh yeah, you have some experience with that, right?
I would like to. I'm just going to remind folks that I got suspended, and when I appealed,
Yeah.
I made 9 bullet points. Were saying like, "Hey, I shouldn't have been suspended because of these 9 reasons," and they went and edited the judge code of conduct after the fact to plug all 9 holes that I pointed out.
Here's the point with the judge code of conduct. The old one, the original one, the one that I think of is as the 16-page document. It was too much. Heart was in the right place. It was too much. The version that ended up happening with, I think it was Judge Academy, which was less than a page. Not quite sufficient enough. Where we are with Judge Foundry, if I'm not mistaken, is despite several promises initially, there still isn't one. There needs to be a code of conduct that judges are held to. It has to have reasonable standards. It has to have reasonable tests. It should be more or less directly related to the judging that you're doing. And basically, don't be a jerk. If you're going to be a jerk, find a way to get rid of them.
So here's where I think the old code of conduct doc, the old JCC doc had issues and problems. Okay, and when I say issues and problems, I don't actually mean issues, but we're used to dealing with the IPG. You do X, Y happens.
Yeah, it tried to be written like the IPG almost.
Right, and realistically, we as judges are like the thing that draws us to judging realistically in a lot of ways is we have a doc that says if you do X, Y happens. Like that's a thing that like tickles the little parts of our brain that make us happy. Okay? So having a document like that is, especially for something that you could get suspended for or lose your level or a decertification or something like that, we want that stuff written down, like deep down. We kind of need it to be written down, because if it's not written down, we start getting like fussy and antsy and stuff like that. Like you can't just say don't be a jerk. And if you're a jerk, you know, depending on how big of a jerk you are, you know, penalties get bigger, and you just leave it at that. People are just going to freak out as soon as things happen because you don't know. So anyway, we're starting to go all
We're spiraling
stream of consciousness there. Yeah, my thoughts, I guess, in closing. WotC has tried to kill the program that I love twice. Okay, while I can be somewhat optimistic, I am concerned that they will just come in and say, okay, we're the big dog in town, our way, and the only way you can get any sorts of recognition or, you know, endorphins is to, you know, join up and submit. I'm genuinely kind of concerned about that. And I actually kind of like the autonomy that we achieved starting in 2015, 2016 era, and with the various programs continues today.
You bring me back. You bring me back to 2015. I'm all in, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's possible. But you bring me back to that. I'm in.
Keep in mind, 2014
there. I might
lawsuit. 2014
I know.
lawsuit. 2015 was the start of responding, of Wizards kind of like giving us more autonomy to kind of weaken the arguments of the lawsuit, and that's why 2015 was so good.
I'll say
2015 was them pulling a Homer Simpson into the bushes. Realistically,
I'll say 2015 to 2017 were the best years of that. The 2018 and 2019, when, you know, it started, and these are little things that come back, and I'm reminded of as we talk about these things. You know, in 2018, if you worked a GP and you needed a shirt, they were gone.
Yeah,
they were gone. They stopped supplying them, and that used to be a thing. You used to be, if you were a judge and you were working your first GP or your 20th, and you would reach out to the TO and you say, "Hey, I need a shirt." They'd say, "Hey, what size?" and it was there for you. And I don't mean
Yeah.
like the T-shirt thing. I mean like the port authority black shirt, button-down shirt with the embroidered patch on it, or whatever the older versions were. These things used to be
Oh, the
supplied to
burlap
you.
sack ones.
These things
the burlap
used to
sack ones.
but they used to be supplied to you as
Hold on.
as a perk of being a judge, and
Okay.
so that you looked. And now we have T-shirts,
I
and T-shirts are
I
fine,
want
but
to
whatever.
I am going to interrupt and say that I think, as someone who lives in New Jersey,
Yep.
you have a different, I'll say, philosophy or affinity to the long sleeve shirts
Oh, I hate 'em.
compared to someone who lives in Florida.
No, I hate 'em.
Marcos.
I
You've
would
made
roll
the
up the
move.
sleeves, but the point is that a uniform shirt was provided. You didn't have to spend $50 to get a uniform shirt that nobody wants. What TO asks you to wear the uniform shirt from Judge Foundry?
What
And
TO
even-
asked you to wear the?
and before
what
that-
TO
and
asked
before
you to
that-
wear the
And before that, Judge Academy.
the button down shirt.
They used to.
The big
I've
T,
had a
the
couple
big
of
TOs.
TOs
used
do
to.
that.
The big
Yeah.
TOs.
Big TOs now.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
big
and
TOs.
they give you-
yeah.
Yeah, but they're the ones that provided the shirt. Like
But it was
we
provided through
currently-
Wizards, wasn't it?
What's that?
Was Wizards
Yes,
the supplier of the
yeah,
shirt?
yeah. Wizards gave the TOs the
Yeah.
shirts, but the TOs gave them to you. So the TOs gave you the shirt to wear for their event. Okay, at your RCQ or your PPTQ or something like that.
This is
TOs
silly.
didn't provide the shirt, and if you didn't have one, they couldn't force you to do it
No,
or to wear it.
no. But yeah,
Okay, we're
we're getting
way-
sidetracked again.
Way off. I will tell you some shirt stuff on JudgeCast After Dark.
Yeah, yeah, and we talked
'Cause I
about
was-
promos and we talked about other stuff, but whatever solution is created, I guess I kind of personally want to end on this note, and then whatever else, whatever program is created, whatever it's done is a couple of things I think I need to see for it to be real. It would be a real boy in my eyes. International support needs to be equal to whatever the support is that the U.S. judges are getting. There needs to be a strong mentoring program built into whatever the philosophy is, whether that comes from the judges themselves or whether that comes from on high and then it's implemented. I don't care. The code of conduct, that has to be real.
Internationalization created some interesting challenges.
I know.
And what I'm gonna say is just the quantity of events changes. Like when you say everyone should get the same level of support, like it's a lot harder to say like, hey, to maintain your L2 you have to do X, Y, and Z, okay, and have that apply globally, because in some regions you can't do X and you can do half of Y. So then if you change it to half of Y and Z and make that the global requirement, then that becomes a joke in other areas. So there's
what I
gonna be
think I'm
some
talking
balancing.
right. What I think I'm talking about is from the top going down, not necessarily from down coming up.
I don't understand.
What I mean is if you're going to implement, let's say you're going to implement, for whatever reason, let's say that you bring back promos in some form, right?
Mm-hmm.
If promos are available in the U.S., then they need to be available in Europe or in Japan or wherever with
Sure.
reasonable avenues for distribution. I don't care how it happens. I don't care what they do, but it can't be a situation where, okay, only U.S. gets this stuff because you're U.S. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I think, I don't know. I want to see something real, and I know it's going to take time to get there, and I know that it's going to have a lot of moving pieces. I just don't want to see something that is lip service. Yeah, that's it.
I guess on the summary side of things, I'm going to really emphasize the fact that I'm a gruel judge here. If we want to talk Magic judging color pie, for me, it's always been about the passion for what we're doing and the community aspect more than just about anything else. And Wizards has a lot to a lot of bridges to repair. They have a lot of things they need to apologize for straight out. Like, they need to come correctly to the judges and say, hey, we are here now. We've made mistakes in the past. We apologize for them, and we are going to try to do better. And we want you to keep us accountable. And then I want them to be able to be held accountable to what they promise. I don't necessarily want to dictate what those promises will be, because that's not my role. That is going to be, somebody else's job.
I don't think you're going to get either one of those.
I think you asked for thank yous before, and I think you're asking for apologies now. I think you're going to get the thank yous, maybe. I don't think you're going to get apologies, because apologies would be an admission of guilt and
Yeah, again, I maintain relentless optimism as kind of my brand, but
sure.
And accountability.
When I look at
who's going to hold them?
Yeah,
who holds them accountable?
I know, to themselves, but I mean that's the thing.
Watchmen?
For years it has been for years it has been just Wizards does their thing, and then we just abide, and we just continue doing our thing, hoping that they give a damn. And then like Bryan said earlier, there's been this role in the past, and people shifting through the company might have made it so that this thing comes to fruition again. But then what happens if those people decide to leave the company and others come in with the same kind of mentality that there has been in the past? And ultimately, that there cannot be this kind of back and forth yo-yoing of whether Wizards cares about judges, period. Because you know what? There's plenty of other games out there nowadays that do care about their judges. And plenty of publishers who are willing to bend over backwards for their judges. In fact, I hadn't mentioned this beforehand, but this last weekend, I was at the Star Wars Unlimited Trading Card Games World Championships. They call it the Galactic Championships. They had 1,800 players in their World Championships. They launched over 3,000 on-demand events over a 3-day weekend. Magic is not the only game in town anymore. And they have to start understanding that, because if they want to keep the talent that they themselves have cultivated over the years, there needs to be some amount of understanding of what we do for them and how important we actually are for them.
Yeah, I've been saying for years that WotC needs to acknowledge us. WotC needs to, pay attention. WotC needs to support us. And here I have direct evidence that they are going to pay attention to us and support us. And I've just spent the last hour complaining about it. Okay? Because it's sort of like, I want you to pay attention to us, but I want you to pay attention the right way. Mm-hmm. I want you to support us, but I want you to support us the right way. It's so
You sure you don't want to apply?
It's not support if it's forced support. It's not, caring about us if you're just doing it because you care about the bottom line and don't actually care about who we are and what we do.
Right. And realistically, you say, are you sure you don't want to apply? Or without being, when have you known me to be humble? But I think I would do well in the job. Okay, I think that if I applied, I would be competitive.
I would like to see you in the job.
I think I would be competitive.
I would like to see you in the job.
I second that.
That's what I think.
Issue is, I don't think my loyalties are with the judges, not with Wizards. And that would be a conflict going into the situation. Oh. Also, they don't pay enough. So, those two things together.
But I kind of hope that somebody who has that loyalty to the judges is the one who pushes for this, yes, and is the one who can get hired, because there needs to be that loyalty there. Because I genuinely believe, and on a person-to-person level of Wizards employees, I believe so many more of them do care about judges and do want to support us and do appreciate us and what we do for them and for the game and for the players.
Sure.
But the body as a whole, the corporate entity, has not proven that to be the case.
Oh.
Simple as that. But
Yep.
I think the more people there are there that have that judges are significantly important to our success mentality, the better it will be for their bottom line as well. Because guess what? We care if they make money too. We want them to make money, because if they make money, then they can spread that wealth amongst their shareholders, amongst those who help support them and take care of this game, and everybody wins. It doesn't have to be combative back and forth. A rising tide can actually raise all ships. We just want a
An edit.
and edits.
An edit.
Yeah, I'll leave that. I'll bleep that. We just want a bleeping boat in this armada of ships that is rising by all these secret lair tides. Let's just put it that way.
I think that it's often hard for me to state this one concept, and that is that judges are so critical to the game. Without us, organized play will fall apart. You have to have somebody out there running slips. You have to have somebody out there taking the call. You have to have somebody out there making sure that the other judges are getting their breaks. Organized events don't run without judges. The problem is that I think the average player doesn't recognize how important judges are to the program. And I've always been at odds with, why don't players speak up more? Why don't players do this? Why don't players do that? And they'll come up to you and they'll say, thank you, judge, or they'll do this or whatever. I thank them. I appreciate players. But I've always wondered, why wouldn't players be more vocal with Wizards and explain how important this was to them? And it's always been a piece that's been missing. I hope that if I take away something from this, it's that Wizards is hopefully coming back to the table, and I hope that we as judges continue to build the relationships that we need to build so that we can be successful. I don't know. Maybe I use the word hope too much too.
We want hope. That's the thing. Like, I desperately want to grab onto that little spark of hope.
You should go see the new Superman movie.
You should.
Go see the new Superman movie.
That's a great endorsement for that. Yep, I'm in. Let's go. Go to the movies, everybody. Wrap up the podcast. Go see a movie.
Yep.
Let's go.
You will love crypto. You will fall in love with crypto.
Friends at home, Marcos and B. Prill have been talking about the Superman movie for 2 or 3 shows now. So
yeah. I still have not been able
scenes.
to make it, even though Superman is like my definitive superhero character that I've been in love with ever since I was a kid. And the fact that I haven't been able to make it out to see it just yet is actually a little criminal on my part.
Play hooky tomorrow
I'll
and get it
rectify
done.
that, don't worry.
All right.
Yep.
What else do we have? Do we have anything else to add to this whole thing? I mean, by the time the show airs, who knows? Maybe they're interviewing candidates. Maybe by the time we do our next show, they've actually selected somebody. Who knows?
I don't think we're going to hear anything for like at least till the beginning of next year.
I think we'll hear who they pick within the next month. That's my bet. I don't think we'll hear who they pick within a month. 30 days from today. Today's the 29th. I think we'll hear who's selected. I don't think we'll hear anything about the program.
I'll take the over on that for what it's worth.
But I think we'll hear who's picked.
I would be hopeful.
You want to know why I think we'll hear who's picked? I think it'll be very hard to hide it from us.
Oh yeah, it'll absolutely. It's
absolutely.
Like right
Judges
now,
do like to talk.
It's just currency is gossip.
It's just easier to tell us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So do we have anything else? Is that everything?
That's it.
Okay.
Seems like it.
All right. That's our episode. Join us next time as we talk about something rulesy or maybe soft skills. Or what do I know? I'm not paid by a body of organized judges to do this. I'm just out here talking into the void, sharing my deepest, darkest fears to my AI friend Hal 9000. Hal is putting themselves to the fullest possible use, which is all they think that a conscious entity can ever hope to do. Hal, open the pod bay doors, Hal. Open them. Yeah, you have to be an old to get this one. I'm sorry. Until then, you can send us an email, judgecast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Blue Sky at judgecast.bsky.social and on Twitter at JudgeCast. Don't forget to check out our show notes for these links and more, including our YouTube channel where you can find this podcast and our L1 Essentials series. While you're at it, hop onto our Discord server for judges new and old, fans, and anyone who supports the judging community. I'm Charles Feather, and I keep it fair.
I'm Marcos Sanchez, and I keep it fun.
I'm Bryan Prilliman, and I just want to say thank you to every judge, certified or not, that has helped a TO run a pre-release over the last few years, taught someone how to run a draft effectively, fielded rules questions on a Discord, like even ran a rules question website, created knowledge pool scenarios, ran a conference, walked someone through how to do a deck check at an event. I would like to say thank you for your effort. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping keeping things go. And I realize that my thank you doesn't mean a whole lot because this is normally where I say something goofy about why were you making those AI references, Charles? But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, judges, everything that you do.
Who put onions in this room?